clicking on this video. My name is Carolyn. This channel is all about true crime, mystery, and anything abnormal. I highly recommend subscribing because this channel is definitely a vibe. So I hope you're all doing amazing. And let's get right into today's story. Arlis had been found killed in a ritualistic manner on October 12th, 1974. She was only 19 years old at the time of her death. And this gruesome murder would take over 4 decades to solve. Arlis had a pretty typical upbringing in Bismarck, North Dakota. She had been born in 1955, and while she was in high school, she had met the love of her life, and his name was Bruce Perry. As soon as the two of them had graduated high school, they quickly were married. In September 1994, the couple moved to Stanford University campus. And the reason that they had moved there was Bruce was a pre-med student at Stanford. And Arlis worked as a receptionist at a law firm while Bruce was attending school. And this should have been the happiest time of their lives. They were completely in love. They were both pursuing their dreams. But unfortunately, in October, an absolutely horrific event would happen that would destroy any future the two of them planned to have. On the night of October 12th, 1974, Arlis and Bruce had gotten into an argument. So Arlis decided that she was going to go to the church that was on the campus at Stanford University and just, she was going to go there, get a little bit of quiet time, probably to pray a little. So she left their, campus apartment and she headed to the church alone. Bruce, who was at home, had fallen asleep and he woke up in the early morning hours and Arlis had not come home. So he immediately contacted the police because this was completely unlike her and he was really nervous about what could possibly have happened. So he told the police that she had left the night before planning to go to the church. Police went to the church and when they arrived at the church, they saw that all of the church doors was locked and the church was secure. So they ended up leaving. But a few hours later, campus security ended up going into the church and made an absolutely horrifying discovery. Arlis's deceased body was found at the front of the church, very close to the altar. The scene was just so horrifying, and it was clear that Arlis had suffered a horrific death. She was found laying face up, and there was an ice pick that had been put through the back of her head. There were also signs of strangulation, and she was naked from the waist down, obviously suggesting that there had been some type of SA that had occurred. 2 of the altar candles were found in really disturbing places. One of the altar candle was found inserted into her vagina, and the other one was placed on her chest between her breasts. Her jeans had also been placed in a very kind of specific way in almost like a diamond pattern on top of her legs. So it was very clear from the beginning that this was a very sadistic, ritualistic killing. Campus security who had discovered her body, his name was Stephen Crawford. He claimed that he had locked up the church around midnight. He then claimed between 2 and 3 in the morning he had gone by the church just to make sure that it was still locked. And then just before 6 a.m. in the morning, he went to the church to unlock it, to open it up. And that is when he had discovered the body. And there was definitely some evidence left behind. On a kneeling pillow, so a pillow that they have in the church that people kneel on to pray, there was semen found on one of those pillows that was very close to the body. There was a palm print on one of the altar candles, and there was also DNA on Arlis's jeans. And the evidence was very puzzling because the DNA did not match her husband, and it also didn't match the security guard who had found her. The police had initially suspected her husband, Bruce, but they had given him a lie detector test and he had passed. So to them, that meant that he was innocent. And if you've ever seen my videos before, you know I have zero faith in lie detector tests. There's a reason they're not reliable in court, because they're not reliable. So there were 7 people identified as being either near or at the church on the night of the 12th or the morning of the 13th. Everybody was cleared, but there was one male who was described as having light, kind of like a darkish blonde hair. He had arrived at the church close to midnight and nobody could identify who he was. So he became a huge interest to police immediately. Now, an interesting thing in this story is David Berkowitz comes up. So David Berkowitz, if you don't know, you probably know if you're watching this, is the son of Sam. So when he had been in prison, he had been writing letters. And in one of his letters, he mentioned this murder. But police were able to exclude him from having any involvement in this case at all. It appeared that he had just heard about the murder through, newspapers or on television, but they were able to conclusively know that the son of Sam had nothing to do with this case. And police were kind of left in a difficult situation. They didn't have any leads. They didn't really have much evidence to go on. And the case ended up going cold and staying that way for a very, very long time. That was until 2018. So obviously this was a cold case in 2018, but they knew they had DNA evidence, and there had been such huge advances in DNA since the time when the DNA had been tested. So they decided to send the DNA to be tested again, and it came back with a match. And the DNA came back and matched Stephen Crawford, who was the campus security guard who had discovered the body. Stephen Crawford, who was now 72 years of age, the police decided to go and pay him a visit. On June 28, 2018, they went to his house to interview him. Now, he knew how bad the evidence was against him. So while the police are knocking on the door trying to enter his residence, he actually ended up unaliving himself in the home while the police were outside. And the ritualistic nature of the crime really kind of made people question if he had worked alone and what was the meaning behind all of this kind of satanic, ritualistic things that were done to the body and placed around the body. But unfortunately, any secrets or explanation as to what occurred that night, why it occurred, we will never know. Stephen Crawford took all of those secrets to the grave. And that is the end of today's story. I know this video is much shorter than most of the videos I do, but there wasn't a lot of information on the case, but I thought with a ritualistic killing, that might be kind of cool to put in during spooky season. So I hope you guys are all doing amazing. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe and do something today that makes your soul happy, and I will see you in the next one.